Welcome, Kelly. I am super excited to be talking to you.
I am excited to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
I'd love for you to share what are you doing right now, and then we can get into untangling kind of the origin story and your journey of getting here.
So, right now, I am a senior client director with Red Hat in the financial services sector, and I cover one of the top 10 banks in the US. And we are focused on their modernization journey and getting them to the cloud and their whole infrastructure journey. So, I manage that and getting the bank automated and getting them into the cloud is a big feat. There's a lot of moving parts with financial services and with technology these days. So that's what
Amazing.
I do now.
Amazing. And for people who might not know what a client director is, can you share a bit more, kind of in layman's terms, like what it means and what do you do on kind of day-to-day basis?
Sure. So that means that I'm in sales and what we call hold the bag. I hold the entire quota. I do about $25 million in business a year for Red Hat. And what that does is I have the client relationships, I prospect new business, I maintain executive relationships, bring them what their competition is doing and let them know about industry standards that are changing and keep them up to date and expand their business portfolio with our products.
Wow, amazing. So that sounds like a lot of responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of responsibility, but it's a lot of fun. My favorite part about the job is the human connection and meeting new people and understanding their what makes them tick and what their journey is and hearing where their story is and how they became executives and seeing the different leadership styles, what I like and what I don't like. And then that's how I treat my team. So it's nice meeting that many people.
So do you enjoy what you do?
I love what I do. I think that sales is an art form. And once you figure out the methodology of it, I think that you can switch industries, the product can change, but the system of sales stays the same no matter what you sell or where you work or who you sell to. It's sales is sales. It's a skill that I wish everybody had. I buy cars, I buy furniture, I buy everything differently because I know what they are doing when I'm being sold to. And that's another point that a lot of people don't like to be sold to, right? No one likes to be on a car lot and, the pushy salesperson.
Mhm.
So understanding that finesse, it's a dance between the client and the sales rep and giving them what they need and understand, letting them be heard, letting them know that you understand what their objectives are, and then moving in that direction. A lot of salespeople go with their own commission or their own agenda and they lead with that. And that's what the clients feel. And that's when they don't like being sold to.
Because in essence, or underneath, like you're so right, because people, the first place where your mind goes to when you hear sales is a sleazy, somebody holding you hostage, you're like, can't wait to get out of there, like car salesman, like you're there for hours, you can't get out. But at the core of it, we love to buy. We buy stuff every day, if I bring it down to like super relatable terms.
Yeah. Yeah. And, when you're buying a house, how the realtor treats you, when you're buying home improvement products, when you're anything, it's relatable to everything you do.
Mhm.
So for someone to have this skill set of sales, to me, is invaluable in life. I can't tell you how many cars that I've bought for my friends and for my family to negotiate the deal. Because when people realize that you know what you're doing and you know the negotiation, they treat you different and they immediately cut to the chase and you know you're getting the best deal possible.
That's very cool. And I thought kind of this was another reason we kind of started talking about it a little bit before starting to record that even though there are so many people in sales, um, it's still and there's so many careers available, there's still big number of people that don't necessarily think or know much about a sales career, including women.
Yes.
And also like if I think about people in school, like might have a son in high school, I was just asking him, well, so what professions do you know about besides YouTuber, a school teacher, a
Yeah.
policeman, and whatever makes it to the high school, Army, Navy, would go.
Yes.
And literally, he did not name sales. So anybody, whether it's somebody who's coming, will be coming out of school and thinking about what to choose, which direction to go to, but also the people who are unhappy in their jobs, who are misaligned in their careers. Plus, we're selling every day. Whether we go to interviews, we have to sell ourselves. We might be super good at our jobs, but if we are not good at selling ourselves, that's like a completely different skill set. So I really, really love that you're here sharing your journey and that you agreed to um, talk to me and the audience. So I'd love to for you to share a bit more. How did you get into sales? Kind of what's the origin story, or where does the story start for you?
Okay. I love the question, first of all, because I think it's something that you pointed out. I don't know if sales is something that people as a kid say, I want to get into sales. I did. Maybe I was the first because I knew early on it's what I wanted to do. Let's roll it way back to 10 years old. I was babysitting. All of my friends were babysitting in the neighborhood. I went out, I saved my allowance, went and got my American Red Cross babysitting certification and first aid certification. And I would knock on door to door and say, this is why you're going to pay me $5 more an hour, is because who would you want to watch your kids? I am certified in first aid. I'm a certified babysitter by the American Red Cross. This is why I'm worth my money. I think that was the original learning value-based selling. And I had a file drawer at 10, 11, 12 years old of every one of my clients, what their favorite snacks were, what their bedtime was, what their favorite movies were, what the parents liked me to do, if they wanted me to clean up, if they wanted me to make them dinner. And that was like my business. And it truly was a business until I was 16 years old and saved up all my money, bought my first car in cash. So I was money driven from a very early age. I knew that was my passion. And all through high school, I was working sales jobs. I was making what my father made when I was in high school. And, I fought my parents. I come, from a medical family. And I fought my parents who were forcing me to go to college. And I said, I don't want to go. I know exactly what I want to do. I'm making the money now. Let me just keep doing this. So I started doing retail sales, putting on a blue shirt at Best Buy that, a lot of people didn't understand when I was selling televisions to the people I went to high school with while they were all in college. I was doing retail sales. And what I didn't realize is that retail sales would lay that foundation of being able to approach strangers and talk to people and meeting people. And they were forcing store management on me. And I was like, you know what? I don't want store management. I want to stay customer facing. So back to your question about your son, it's what do you enjoy? Do you enjoy talking to people? Do you enjoy sparking conversation with strangers? If that is something that you enjoy, and if you're social and outgoing, then sales should definitely be considered as a path. So I go from Blue Shirt Best Buy. I started using their internal system, and I see an account executive position at corporate Best Buy. They were rolling out a new team of how to do B2B sales. And they were basically taking their VIP customers out of the store and giving them to this 36 account executives that they were bringing on. And they all had to be general manager, district manager, or an account executive in a previous experience. But I was here as a blue shirt Best Buy employee. And I said, you know what? I want them to say no to my face. And that was one of the most foundational lessons that I learned in my career was make them have the conversation with you. Make them say no to your face. Don't look at my resume. Don't look at my background. Don't look at my current title. Have a conversation with me and then decide. So I also believe that if somebody sees your name in the interview process for the first time, you've already lost. So I did a search into People Finder in the internal system of every person that was affiliated in leadership in that division. And I reached out to them and I said, I am applying for this position. I want you to know who I am. I don't want you to look at my resume and think that I don't have the experience for this. I want a conversation. So fast forward to the interview process. I go to my first panel interview and I have 6 Best Buy executives on a panel. And they said, let me start off by saying, if you go after sales and clients the way that you went after this job, we're going to hire you on the spot. And I got the job. And I tell that story to a lot of people who want to break into sales. Sales is an audition. Your interview is an audition. How you follow up, how you interview, how you present yourself, your confidence, that is how you are going to represent their company to their highest customers. So it doesn't matter about your experience or where you've been. That human connection is very real in sales, especially going for a new sales position. From there, I spent 13 years very successfully at Best Buy. I ended up opening up a new vertical and I did all the audio video distribution systems for stadiums across all sports arenas across the US. Still one of the only ones to do it. I'm still the only female who's ever done it. And I was very successful there, but I knew the industry was changing. You know, when I sold my first television, it was $30,000. You know, you probably bought a television for $300 and threw it out the window when it breaks now. It wasn't how it used to be. So I knew the industry was changing and I needed to look at geographically where I live. I live in Raleigh, North Carolina. So there's a lot of IT and software companies. They call it Silicon Valley of the East, right? And I said to my boss at Best Buy, I said, I need to try something else. So I looked on and I looked for a job in software IT, and the first company that came up was Citrix. And I saw that an account executive position was posted for Citrix.
Mhm.
But instead of just applying for the job, I went and contacted the recruiter who posted the position and said, I want to have a conversation with you before I apply to this. I don't have software experience. I don't have a degree, but this is my skill set. This is what I've done. It's been in a different industry. And do you think that would relate? He said, absolutely. Within 12 hours, I had an interview, and within 24 hours, I had an offer. And that was it. I broke into software. And what I learned, that was the moment that I learned that the sales methodology is the same. I took the same thing that made me successful at Best Buy and I brought it over to Citrix. And within 4 months, I became the #1 rep in the East. Quickly promoted after 9 months of being there to their majors account. And then from there, it's just been an explosion of different companies that were vetting me to work at, but my goal was always Red Hat. And all this time, I kept applying at Red Hat because I knew I wanted to be there because it's the pillar of software. It's, you know, the founders of open source technology. So I knew I wanted to work at Red Hat, and I tried 9 times to apply. And
Wow.
they said, you don't have enterprise software experience. So I got promoted at Citrix to get that experience. Then I said, okay, I've now done enterprise sales. Will you now look at me? They said, nope, we run like a startup. You should go get startup experience. So I left Citrix and went to a startup for sales enablement. And I did that for 10 months. And then I said, okay, I've been at the startup. Will you please talk to me? And what I learned was the way that I got into Red Hat was back to the human connection at a coffee shop with a female sales leader, just having a conversation. I had wrote her and said, would you please just have a cup of coffee with me face to face? I want to introduce myself. I want you to know who I am, what I can bring to your team. And she says, I don't have a position, but I want you to trust me. And I'm going to call you. That was in March. And she called me in July and said, we're ready for you. We want you on board. And that was it. So I had a very unconventional way of how to get into sales and how to switch industries, all with having faith in yourself. You know, how can you ask somebody to believe in you when you don't believe in yourself? And that confidence, that belief in yourself of what you can bring to the table, and really knowing and articulating what that skill set is means more than any experience written on a sheet of paper. Long-winded answer.
No, that's amazing because like even that 10-year-old girl who's already thinking the wheels are turning, like I'm gonna get these extra certifications, right? And sell myself
Yeah.
and earn more money, right? So it's like you were born a salesperson. That's what it
Yeah.
is like.
I didn't know it could be a career. I didn't know what that would look like. And it's ever morphing even now, what that looks like. But, you know, anyone who has that that will to talk to people and knows who they are and knows what they like and what they don't like, you know, anyone can do it. And there's so many times that I'm out to eat and I see an incredible waitress or waiter. It happened this week with somebody at a bank where I said, you've got to you've got to get customer facing. You're so good. You can do sales. Like, let me bring you on. So I brought a lot of people with us, you know, once, you know, that's what I believe is, especially a female in sales. Once you figure it out, go back and bring the others. So it's one of my passions is to coach salespeople, either beginning or trying to break through or existing salespeople, and making them that top 1%. There's one thing to be a salesperson, but there's a different thing to be in that top 1%. And to continue to do that on a proven track of success in multiple industries amongst multiple companies, that means that you are trained on the actual art of what the sale is. So I do a lot of coaching for salespeople in all different stages of their journey for that reason.
That was another reason why I'm so happy that you are here, that you're talking, and sharing about your journey, what you're doing, because the mentorship piece, the coaching piece, the consulting, in addition to what you've accomplished in your own career is really admirable. And I wanted to ask you, so do you think that you have to love people to be in sales?
I think so.
Because there's
um,
part of like there are people who are more introverted, right? And
yeah.
more comfortable. Like there comes a point where they're like, okay, I don't want to deal with more people, Everybody.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people who can't be told, you know, no. They shut down at no. What we know as salespeoples is the odds are you will get 9 no's before you get to the one yes. So you will be told no 9 times. You'll be hung up on 9 times. You will not be responded to 9 times. You just have to keep going. Some people are not made for that. Some people stop and go, "Ugh, I don't know if I can, you know, you know, figuratively, you can't go knock on someone's door after they've shut the door in your face, but you can do that. And if you don't have the will to do that,
Mhm.
then you probably shouldn't do sales. There's a lot of things that you can do to support sales. I have 11 people on my team that support me and support our customer that aren't necessarily customer facing, but they're in the sales orbit. So there's a lot of things that if you like to be the ability to press the pedal down when you need more money, if you're getting married, if you're having your first child, if you're buying a house and you need more commission, you have the pulse, right? You have the ability to turn it up and get more money when needed. That does excite a lot of people, but maybe not necessarily they can't take the nose across the face. So there are many different aspects of sales that you can get into that aren't so much holding the bag or having the high quota and having that pressure. So there, but if you don't like people, it would be kind of hard if you can't navigate those muddy waters. They say the average is you will lose a sale 6 times. The statistic is you will lose a sale 6 times before you close it.
Wow.
You know, there's a lot of people that would stop after 4 or 5 and beat themselves up, but you just have to know, okay, this is number 3. Keep going. Let's get to number 4. I got 3 more times to lose this before it comes on. So
Yeah, and it's definitely not for everybody. I mean, maybe in general sales, kind of the entry might be easier, but like how many people actually become successful, right? How many people stay in sales? So it's definitely not the easiest of careers. So with all your experience, what would you say are the prerequisites to become a successful salesperson? And like, let me, you know, either if somebody is coming out of school, right, or is in the last year of college or whenever they're thinking of entering the workforce, right, and what should they do or which profession should they choose? And the other angle is somebody who's been in a career, maybe 10, 15 or so years, has been successful, but feel like something is missing, right? That they are not in the right area of work and is thinking to change, to shift things around. So what are those prerequisites that one needs to be successful in sales? And then maybe to take it up a notch, like then what differentiates that kind of top, what you were talking about, the top 1% or the top of the top?
I think first and foremost, the ability to network. The ability to network should be a prerequisite in any sales position. And it doesn't mean your personal network. It means you may not always have the answer in the room. I call it door number 1 and door number 2. I might be trying to get to a CEO of a company and I don't have the connection to him and he's not responding to me. He or she is not responding to me. But if I have a big enough network, either within the account, if I've done the groundwork, or in my personal network, where I can go around and insulate them and say, I don't know X person, but I have the answer in the room in my door number 2 that knows him. The ability to network, and it's network outside of your company, in your own company. If you hit a snag with the business unit who's not giving you a discount that you need, that you're going to have to get this deal across, being able to network within your own company, to have that network where you can call legal and say, listen, I need you to get these terms and conditions approved by the end of the day. I'm on a deadline. Internally, as well as at your client, networking is a skill set. You have to know how to network. And the best way to network is to offer your own network and not need something every time if you only need something every time you call someone, they put you in that category of, oh, what do they need this time?
Mhm.
But if you just contact people as a service, I have 2 words that I say almost every conversation I have with somebody. It's help and serve. Let me know if there's anything that I can help you. I'm here to serve your account. Please let me know how I can assist. I am giving myself of service. Salespeople tend to be greedy and selfish and self-serving. Oh, I've got to get this in, and hey, can you help me get to that person? Nobody wants that. But if you have helped that person and say, listen, congratulations on your new role. LinkedIn's a great place to do this. Congratulations on your new role. Please let me know if there's anything in my network or in my past that I can help you make you successful in your new role. Let me know. That's it. I'm not putting me first, I'm putting them first. And that is a skill set. So being able to do that in all aspects around you, in your personal network, in your internal company will all help you become that top 1%. That's how I reach every one of my clients is I put them first. I never say we, I never talk about me, I never talk about my company, I never talk about my product. What are your initiatives for the year? How can I help you? Where can I assist you with my team? Where can we place to help support your goals? Where are you falling short? Where can we fill in? It's all the focus is on them, nothing's on me. And then the ability, like I've talked about earlier, is the ability to just spark a conversation with a stranger. Are you the people with the earphones on in a plane, not talking to, the seats next to you? You probably won't be in sales. By the end of the flight, I know everybody around me. I know where the flight attendant's from. I know everybody. I know what their favorite drinks are. So I am a social person.
Mm.
I talk to everybody. Everybody is just a connection away. And I can't tell you how many people I've met on planes that are on my LinkedIn that we still keep in contact. So being able to network, being able to talk to strangers, and having a success mindset. Know that they're going to tell you no, know that you're going to lose it. And it's knowing what that is in the process and picking yourself back up, saying, okay, I got to find another way. I'm the queen of pivots. That first one did not work. We got to find another way. That first, what I thought was going to happen did not happen. Go around it, jump it, go under it, whatever you have to do, get to the end, but do not stop.
And that kind of was the example that you mentioned, even when you were searching or pivoting your career to the next, company or the next position, you used exactly that technique.
Yep. It's once you learn it, um, I've used my same techniques in every aspect of my life, trying to find a job, also trying to get to the people that I wanted to have a conversation with in my life. The picture back here is Oprah and myself. I
Oh,
love Oprah. So I said, if I can prospect and get to any CEO in the world, I'm going to test my abilities and try to get to the most protected woman in the world. And I did. And I got my conversation with her. And so I start off my sales trainings with a picture of me and Oprah saying, if I can prospect and get to her, then you can prospect and get to anybody. But it was with those same tactics.
oh my God, you have to share this story.
Well, it's basically it's how you prospect. So you go to the lowest person that you know. So I went to the event security. Who is your boss? Who is running event security? That person over there. Who is running this production? Who's running production? This person. Who's the handler? Getting all the way up and saying, I am here to have a conversation. And I said some very Oprah things like Oprah had the wildest dreams season, her 23rd season. This is my wildest dream to have a conversation, and I will not leave without knowing that I've done everything I could to try to have the conversation that I needed to have with her. And somebody came up in the event and they tapped my shoulder and they said, stay here at the end. And then they took me up to a room, and I didn't know anybody. It was all production staff and security. And then her and Gail came out and grabbed me, and we talked, we hugged, we cried, and I said everything I wanted to say to her. But that is my story that I start out sales trainings with. Like I use this in every aspect of my life.
That is so cool. That is a wild story, and that definitely stands out. And you have all the other proof to obviously where you're successful, and this is just kind of another very, very impressive and creative way of applying your talent and your skills. That is so awesome. And another reason why I wanted to talk to you was because I love the fact that so many times people, when they get to a certain level of success, right, they have a great job, they kind of close off to networking to establishing new connections, right? To keep, and you are a living example of an embodied example of still, even though you are super successful and great at what you do, that you are still continuing to do what you're teaching, right? What you're coaching and what you're embodying on your day to day. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for being the way that you are. I think we need more people like that. And can you talk a little more about the coaching and the mentoring? And I love the fact that you're also helping, right, other people, inspiring them through your story, but also in your actions.
Yeah, thank you. I think that if I can do it, anybody can do it, right? I mean, literally, if I can do it, then anyone can do these things. Maybe it's something that I figured out how to do. So it's been one of my life's works is to, especially young salespeople coming out of college or just getting started, or even peers, but just getting people started or giving them a chance, an opportunity. So a lot of the times I was selling to customers, and 99% would offer me a job. And I would say, I'm not looking, to move, but my husband was the one who said, you've got to figure out a way to monetize this. So I started a consulting company, and I would say to those people who wanted to hire me, like, listen, I'm not looking for a job, but I am happy to come in and train some of your salespeople, some of these tactics. So that's kind of how it started. But then it became a passion project of just seeing, young females work in nonprofit and make 30,000 a year, saying like, oh my gosh, I could work with you, and I mean, you have what it takes. Let me just, and they say, no, I couldn't do sales. Like, you can do it. You do it every day. You're asking executives
Mhm.
to give to your nonprofit. That is selling. People have no idea how much they're selling, and they don't know that that's what they're doing. So just opening that up in people and teaching them, like, this is what translates. This is what you're doing now. That is sales. Let's tweak that just a little bit. Um, and I do have a powerful network. I think that your network is your net worth. And when people reach out to me on LinkedIn, I say yes to everybody because I'm in sales. I'm tired of hearing the word no. So I just assume that everybody, if I put good karma, that I'm just saying yes to everybody, maybe the people I'm trying to reach to will say yes to me. That's literally why I do it. But I say yes to everybody. Let's have a conversation. What are you looking for? How does my door number two, right? I might not be looking, but my door number two people might. There's somebody that in my network that might be able to connect with you. So again, I offer to help and serve everybody I meet. And it helps the people that are looking for jobs, basically a professional dot connector. I love when, my network connects and some person's looking for something that I know somebody else can connect to. Um, it's, I don't know. I love it. And it's because the human connection is the reason that I am successful. It is the reason that I am here because somebody took a chance on me. The female leader in the coffee shop, finally got me my job that I've been like, that was the company I wanted to work for. So, but going back and telling people like, stop the jargon, stop the business conversation, stop the formalities. Just get on the phone and talk. Meet face to face. What are you looking for? This is who I am. And that's how you get down to the brass tacks, right? If you can invest in the person, then find the job for the person. But, there's a human story behind every single person, and we've got to bring that back to the business world. Bring that human element back in.
Yeah, no, I'm completely with you. I wanted to ask you, as you were going, from Best Buy to kind of more, obviously, arguably it's still technical, but then when you go into really the tech sector, how hard was the ramp up on technology, right? Understanding the product.
So interesting, interesting question. I was the subject matter expert with Best Buy. I had a very technical background. I didn't need a pre-sales engineer. I didn't need an architect. I was working with stadium architects by myself. I did my own CAD drawings. I did my own wiring diagrams. I did it all myself. I was the technical expert. Go from that to software where I'm like, where are the wires? What is the cloud? Where does this plug in the wall? I came from consumer electronics, right? Everything plugged in the wall. I'm like, but where does this stuff exist? And I had a technical deficiency. And I have had the unique ability to have the selling experience being an expert and having the selling experience being a novice where I don't understand any of it. I will tell you, I am a better seller by not knowing the technology. So I fought Citrix. They kept trying to put me in sales or product training. And I said, I don't want to know it. I don't want to know it. Can you please just let me try this? Let me go rogue and let me try my own thing. And if it doesn't work, then I will learn your product. What I learned in that is if you were to ask me something about a stadium and say, oh, does this have RS-232 control? Yes, it has RS-232. It also has digital coax. It also has this other stuff. It's got 36.55 megabits per second transfer rate. So you won't have lag time when you see the quarterback release the ball. I could go into that whole thing. But what I learned is when I didn't know the answer, it made me dive deeper into the why of the question. So that is what I teach also in sales is when you don't when you don't focus on the product, you can then focus on the solve. What is the business challenge that we are solving? Is it for budget? Is it for security? Is it for any of these other reasons? What's the business impact? So
Mhm.
now if they ask me a question, I stop and say, tell me why you asked that question. What is the business impact if it has it? What is it if we don't have it? Um, if we were to solve this challenge for you, what would your employees be working on instead? Where would we redirect the funds of the savings and where would we redirect the employees' focus? And staying on the business level and not the product level. So I have 11 people on the team that are product experts, way smarter than me, technical people that can build out. So I have separated myself starting in software. When I started at Citrix, I separated myself immediately from the product and went, let that be somebody else. So I wanted to be their problem solver. Tell me what you need and what you're looking for. Let me go get the person who can help you with that answer. And I separated myself from the product so that I'm always their call when they need something fixed.
And have you maintained kind of
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. I still don't know the product. I don't know anything I sell. I don't know any of it, but I don't want to know the product. I said when we first started this call that I don't talk about me, my company, or my product. I talk about them and what they're trying to achieve. And then I figure out who on my team can connect our technology to that problem. I stay at the problem level and I solve the problem.
And I'm just thinking, okay, when you are in technical sales, technology sales, aren't you selling even at the executive level at into pretty technical people, even the leaders are pretty
Yes.
technical.
Yep.
And do they sometimes have a hard time themselves maybe tying it back to like the business if they're like more technically inclined?
Well, so in what I do now, there's always a technical manager
Mhm.
a product manager, and then there's the executive who holds the purse strings and how this ties into, and then understanding each persona. So the persona selling is a whole nother type of selling. If you go in and start talking to the CFO about technology,
Mhm.
it's going to go over their head. They care about timelines and they care about budget. How do I maintain this budget with this amount of headcount that I have? Understanding what each persona cares about. If you go in and talk to the technology manager about how much it costs, you're missing. You
Mhm.
have to understand what each person cares about and sell directly to that. And
Mhm.
most of the time, it's not about the same. It's very rarely the same person about the technology and the budget. It's always two separate people.
So, what would you recommend for people? Because I think it is an obstacle. Obviously, you saw it also from your own career journey that sometimes the managers are very much like, I need this experience, like you said, let's say enterprise or whatever, delivering on this kind of range of quota, within this industry, and they can be narrow-minded. So, let's say
Yes.
somebody wants to switch to sales but comes from a different path, a career path, like what would be your advice?
Uh, it keeps me up at night. I don't have the answer. I wish I did.
Yeah.
I'm on a panel December 5th for this topic of how to get people to invest in the person and not the paper. Um, I don't have the answer. The only thing that it's a mindset shift of listening to what their background is. Do not check a box on a resume. Having the conversation, it's everything that we've talked about tonight.
Mhm.
It's getting people to hear that. What I think is incredible, I will be honest, I'm going to say some things that may not be popular, but software sales do not have the best talent in a sales methodology. I have seen that a lot of that my training from a different industry, from my consumer electronics days, that's where I learned the persona training. That's where I learned the value-based selling, the prospecting skills. All of that came from a different industry, not from software. What I've learned is software is so product focused and not sales art form focused.
Mhm.
So they keep hiring people who have the same software background, and it's high churn. I was told at Citrix that my shelf life is 18 months and that they would hope to keep me 18 months. Coming from a company for 13 years, I'm like, oh my gosh, they only want me for 18 months. It's because they turn and burn, right? AEs, account executives don't stay long because they're always looking for the next thing. There's no investment in the people. If they would stop hiring the people that cookie cutter software, oh, they've worked at this software company, they've got these logos under their belt. They're getting the same type of people who come in, they look for quick wins. If they can't get the quick wins, then they leave. If you were to look at people from other industries that actually do a training on the salespeople, um, they would learn that there's a lot more talent in other industries. And then you can bring what they've done in other industries over to software. And that's how you become a world-class sales organization. You don't do it by keep hiring the same people over and over. That's why there's an 18-month shelf life. If you look for the people outside of the industry, you know, you look for the waitresses, you look for the people who have that natural ability. You can teach product to anybody. You cannot teach the grind, the will to win, the outgoing, the what they insurance. They might have had a whole nother way of prospecting and gaining new clients. Why wouldn't you want that versus these emails that are just sound the same? And what I say in my trainings is, you know, look at LinkedIn. Somebody gets 100 inboxes a day, and I don't even have chief in my title. Imagine me being an executive of a company, how many inboxes they're getting They all sound the same. They're all that same formula that marketing put together, and it's that sequence that they're put in. Sorry to bother you. I haven't heard from you from our last follow-up. They sound the exact same. My favorite. I hope this email finds you well. Nobody's well. Nobody's well with these emails. But how do you become the one that stands out? How do you become that top 1% where somebody responds to it and they go, out of the 100 inboxes, this one's different. And it's because you're not putting that robotic, nobody likes robots. Put that
Nobody
human
relates.
element. Yes, put that human element into it. Listen, I know you don't want to hear from me. It's a Friday. You probably have other plans. I do too. But I just want to give you this information. If this interests you, you write me. I'm not going to write you again. Good night. It's a completely different approach. And someone's going to go, you know what? I'll look into that. That stood out. And
Yeah.
that's how you do it. But you learn those techniques from other industries. And I think that there's a big shortage of sales talent in software in general.
It's refreshing and it's actually something that connects, right, with the human on the other side versus like we have the best product. The robot, we have like X
I'm
feature.
going to save you time and money. Do you have 15 minutes so I can show you how to save time and money?
No.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same thing with recruiters, like all the recruiters that hit people up and it's we have an opportunity for you. You don't even know if I'm looking. Like you don't even know if I'm looking. Um, those are the ones that stand out, are the ones that are like, listen, if you're not looking, like disregard this email. I appreciate the honesty. Dropping the formality sometimes and getting back down to the, a meaningful relationship.
I think circling back to the conversation or just what we were talking about just a minute ago, it's whether it's a sales manager or a manager in any other profession, it's really hard for most people to determine i- if the person has the underlying core kind of capabilities to be good at the core job. So kind of that, like, do you have X years of exactly this experience serves as a tool, because they can't really, it's really hard to, um, most people don't know or can't really assess in the interviews like if somebody will be a great salesperson.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the audition. The interview is the audition.
Hmm.
How did they stand out amongst the applicants? Did they contact you before the interview? Did they look at your LinkedIn? Did they read your last article and comment on that in the interview process? Did they reach out to somebody that was a mutual connection and have them make a referral to you and say, listen, I've worked with this person, they're pretty good. Did they follow up, beforehand and say, looking forward to speaking to you at 6? Did they follow up afterward? Did they follow up 2 days later? I think there's a lot that they can see in the interview process that if a salesperson was doing it correctly and they understand that it is the audition, you would be able to tell, just like that Best Buy panel interview. The guy said, I how is it that every meeting that I walk into, it starts off with, did you get an email from a girl named Kelly in North Carolina? Make everybody speak your name, bug them, professionally stalk them, right? Let them know you're doing your homework on them because that's what you have to do with your new accounts. That's what you have to do in sales. You have to get to know them. You can't just call somebody cold calling and connect with them. You see that they went to Clemson on their LinkedIn and they'll say, oh, go Tigers. I saw you went to Clemson. That's what everybody else is doing. But to say, listen, I saw that post you wrote about AI. That was a very interesting take. Can we talk about that before this whole thing gets started? I'd love to hear your approach because that's something I haven't seen before. Wow. Like that's a whole different conversation. And you've just connected on a level where they feel seen and that you've done their research. You've done your research on them. I call it earning the right. I think we talked before, I call it a pitch slap. When someone just immediately pitches you and you're not ready for it, I believe you have to earn the right to pitch. And how you do that is by showing them, I've done my research on you. I've read your articles on LinkedIn. I've talked to people who know you. I've understood where you stand and how you do business and what's important to you. I've now earned the right to come to you and say, all right, let's have a conversation and lead with them up front. People want to talk about themselves. They don't want to be sold to. They want a chance to be able to say their experience. So salespeople giving them the platform to speak first
Mm-hmm.
instead of you talking about something this is so important. This is the best thing. You don't even know if they're in the market for that. You haven't done enough research to find that out. So lead with them. Let them talk first.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you think you've gathered enough, that's when you pitch and that's when you say, listen, we've been talking a little bit. I appreciate your guidance on your thoughts on AI and how that's going to change the world. I do want to run something by you if it's okay. 100% they'll say yes.
Mm-hmm.
But picking up the phone and pitch slapping is just, it's never going to work. And it's what 99% of them do. That 1% will
Yeah.
do it differently.
I love this. And it reminds me of, I think it was Donald Miller who has a story brand framework. I don't know if you've heard of him, but uh, it's also like a sales framework. And I think the number that has like 7 steps or 7 aspects. And I think the number one is like, you are not the hero. The customer is the hero. And like, so whether it's in talent branding, whether it's like companies, right? From all we have the tendency to talk how great we are, how much we've accomplished, how like the technical features, whatever it is. But the customer, the other person, the other side is the hero. And I think we tend to
Yeah, you
forget.
don't know what's important to them. It goes back to the old sales method, the story of somebody selling a car to a woman, right? And them saying, "Oh, it's got a 5.6 liter engine, and it's got the best Mark Levinson speakers that you can get, and it's got cow leather seats, and it's got a heated steering wheel." When she wanted to hear about where the airbags were and the safety of her tires and what's the hydroplaning features, the anti-lock brakes, that's what she cared about. But you didn't know that. You didn't ask what was important to her. So it just goes back to leading with them. And I say, salespeople think that they're the most important person in the world. You don't exist. You don't exist to them yet. They should be the most important to you, and you should hear what's important to them so that you can pitch exactly to what they're looking for.
Mhm.
You can't just feature dump.
I love also what you're sharing that it's so helpful no matter whether, people want to go and pursue, the next job in sales or it's any other range of jobs. Because all the advice is so applicable. I wanted to ask you, so there's so much conversation that's right now is very popular about boundaries, about saying no. You talking about networking, saying yes, being on, I think 7 boards,
Yeah.
right? Highly successful in a demanding job. How do you do it all?
So I believe that you have to figure out what your passion is and only say yes to things that align with what your mission is. I consider myself Kelly Norman Incorporated. I'm the CEO of Me Inc., right? So what mission is Kelly Norman Inc. on? And what do I believe in? What is my mission statement? And what goes with that mission? You want to care about every little league team, and you want to care about every um, child hunger project. You want to care about global warming. You want to care about what's going on in the world, but you have to choose what is important to you and go with those organizations, listen, every board meeting, every call, everything that I do after hours is part of Kelly Norman Inc., right? That's on my time. That's not on Red Hat time. That's Kelly Norman Incorporated. So if I'm giving up a dinner with my family, it has to align with my personal mission statement. It has to align with something that I truly, to the heart of my heart, care about. Um, or else you can get burned out and you're toe stepping in. You're not doing it to your full ability. And that's not fair to the organization. And it's not fair to your family to be gone on something that you're not really putting your full focus on.
Mhm.
So, knowing when to take a step back and say, listen, I can't do all of this. I would love to. That's not going to align with my work-life balance right now. I've got my plate full. If something comes off of my plate, I'm happy to take that into consideration and we can circle back around. But at this moment, it's not going to align for me. And it's something that I did get burned out with nonprofit work and networking events. I was a professional networker for so long. It's still something I care about, but I do it when I want to, and I have nothing to gain from it. I don't look for new clients. I have one client that I manage. I don't look to I have nothing to gain by my networking. And that's the best time to network is
Mhm.
when you're not hungry going into these groups, like looking to get something from them. People can feel that when you're going in saying, I love meeting new people and understanding how I can help my community connect with each other that I'm people I might know. That's the best time to do it. So it's really just having that innermost conversation with yourself to say, what do I truly care about? And does this align to that? If not, it's okay to say no.
Mm. And I think sometimes it's hard to get clarity. Sometimes it is, or have that clarity. Sometimes it's easy to get into this wheel of just saying yes, and then you kind of lose yourself or lose that focus. Um, so, Kelly Norman Incorporated, what is your mission?
I it's morphed over the last couple years. I used to care a lot about clean water projects. So there was a group in the Western North Carolina called Wine to Water that does water filters in Dominican Republic. Then I was part of Rotary International, where they would do water filtration systems and latrines in Dominican Republic, right on the border of Haiti. And I did that many years where I would go to Dominican Republic and put in water filtration systems in villages. Then that turned into houses. To be honest, when it turned into houses, I didn't go anymore because I was more aligned to the clean water. I think that clean water is a human right, that everybody in the world deserves clean water. And that was something that was very important to me. And that's one of them. And then the other one, I am the daughter of a veteran. So I now have transitioned more to how do I support getting veterans into the corporate world once they transition, or if they're reservist, how do we take the skill set that veterans and reservists have, and how do we transfer that to the business world?
Mm.
So that I went from clean water to veteran affairs, but that is my latest mission, and I think there's a big need for that. There's more people coming out of the military, and I live in North Carolina. I have Air Force, Army, Marines all here in North Carolina, and we have a lot of military presence. And how do we bring them on and truly support our troops after they've served the country and bring them into the corporate world and nurture that transition for them.
I love that. And I love that you're saying, that your mission can change because it will naturally change like with different years and stages of your life and as you evolve or what becomes more front center and focus. And it's the same like for people, your mission and your ability to work or your capacity to work sometimes can change also with the age of your kids, right? When they're younger, obviously they're much more demanding and need much more of your attention versus, when they go into high school. So life is ever evolving and ever changing, and and it is very hard. It can be very hard for people to transition from military back into civilian because also partly kind of what we talked about is this blinders on. I need to see 5 years, 10 years of exactly this experience to consider you for this job, where that's not the case at all, when people have the ability to assess some of the fundamentals, the core aspect of strengths and personality, that fit the job and could make somebody very, very successful, and learning kind of the semantics, right? The very surface level, whether you're using Salesforce for CRM or whether you used Excel. I mean, it's like, it's it's really, very surface level. Um, and the connection, I wanted to say something about the connection, but now it escapes me because as you're talking, I have all these like ideas that
Yeah.
trains of thought that, different roads I could be going down in terms of the conversation. But how can people follow you or maybe learn a little bit more about some of the consulting or anything that you're doing?
I am very active on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So I that's the easiest way to connect with me is on LinkedIn. And I do sometimes shut off taking on new clients. So it just depends on how busy my work is and how what my load is with helping other people. But they can always follow me on LinkedIn. I always post on there. I try to post more personal. Like I I am not one who's ever going to post about Red Hat product. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with the people who just post some. That is your page. That is Kelly Norman Incorporated's page. I get paid by Red Hat, but that's social media. That's me. And I think that a lot of people use their LinkedIn and only talk about the companies they represent and their products that they're selling versus talking about themselves, putting that, nobody wants a robot, right? Everyone knows that's a canned message that your marketing department put up on your LinkedIn about the product release. I want to know about you. Who are you? So I try to make personal post in a professional tone. A lot of my volunteer experience goes on to my LinkedIn, um, networking or anything that I'm doing around the community. Very rarely is it about Red Hat specifically. And so if, they can follow me, they can write me. I usually write everyone back, but they will see a lot of my um, just trips that I've taken, some of the clean water trips that we've taken, and some of the other things that we've done. I've hosted exchange students from all over the world. So when I go visit them, I post about them and, you know, with their big time jobs that they now have. And, I don't know, bringing like humanity back to LinkedIn. And, it's not a Facebook page. It's not personal, like, oh, I'm going on vacation. I always try to make it more of a pull it back to the professional world, but show a little bit about who you are. So they can always follow me on LinkedIn and get in touch with me then.
I love that. And before I let you go, because I could talk to you
I know, I know. We'll do
for
coffee. We'll do coffee.
hours, but I wanted you to share. This is more from an angle, maybe somebody in high school that, we have this traditional model, you have to go to college, but I believe that college is becoming more and more obsolete. Like they're teaching, there's so much. I feel like the practical is probably number one, like the experience and the willingness to go after things, to try things, to learn, to apprentice, with somebody who's a master or an expert is very valuable. And then there are so many also online, like so many skills and like practical things you can learn that don't require you to go into so much debt, right? To
Yeah.
spend 4 years just studying theory. So I wanted you to share a little bit about your background from that perspective, just given how successful you are, that it can be very encouraging, right, for people maybe who are on the fence, right, or don't want to go to college, but are afraid of the consequences, right, of that decision.
Well, I used to say there's a influential town councilman in my town that he taught me. I used to say I was uneducated. And he's like, I want you to stop saying that. He says, you are educated in a non-institutional way. You have more education than most in the business world and in worldly things. You just did it in a unconventional approach. So don't say you're uneducated. So I want to start with that to say it matters what industry. Listen, if you're going into robotics or going into the medical field or teaching or, psychology, then obviously you need to go to school. But if none of that interests you, the best thing to do is to get a job. I tell all of my friends' kids, the best thing you can do is get a job. Get a job young. Get a job at 15 when you can get your worker's permit. Work the grocery store jobs. Work anyone who will pay you. Work a landscaping job. There is no bad job. There is experience that's saying, I will never work there again. I don't ever want to do that again. Or I actually really liked that. I just didn't like the company, or I liked that, but I didn't like the schedule. You are forming what you like and what you don't like.
Mhm.
If you've never worked, it's so hard to say what you want to do. The best thing we can do for our children is to get them out and exposed to as many different jobs on many different levels at a very young age. You got a son, go grab a lawnmower and knock door to door. If you hated knocking door to door, you probably shouldn't do sales.
Mhm.
But if you liked fixing the lawnmower, you might be more mechanical. You
Mhm.
are forming your experience and you don't even know it. So there is no bad job. There is no bad job. I always said I was willing to do the jobs that no one was willing to do. I put on the blue shirt. I was working in New York. I was working for the fifth largest company in the world, Toshiba. I had a big time technical trainer job for a Japanese company. And I came back to put on a blue shirt. And people were like, what, not many people are willing to do that. Not many people are willing to take a step back.
Mhm.
But I knew I didn't want to go the technical route. I wanted to go the sales route. So I had to leave the manufacturer and come back to, and what better place to do it from a very large sales organization. And that retail experience is the root, that and the knocking door to door with the babysitting flyer. Those are the root of me talking to people and talking to strangers and being comfortable with no's and doors slammed in my face. So any job is good at any age. And then if you say, I don't want to do that, I want to be a doctor, then go to college.
Mhm.
If you want to go do something that requires a degree, then you absolutely should do that. But people, sorry, this might be a hot take, but people who go for like a 4-year business degree and then go into sales, you've put yourself back 6 figures in debt. And you probably had it innately in you, and you'll learn it on the job. So I talk to a lot of seniors in college about entering in the workforce and say, I'm your competition. When you come in and you have this degree and you think it's just going to open doors, that's true. Your network and your alumni and your, fraternity or sorority, you will gain that. But I also have a sorority of past coworkers at Fortune 100 companies that are already there, right? From working there. And would you rather have someone who read about what you're doing in a textbook, or who has the 4 or 5 years of experience and a proven track record to show you that they've done it already? And companies are starting to pivot. They're starting to realize I need the experience more than the degree. So anything that I understand the whole networking in college, but you can also do that in the real world, and you're doing it with the people that you want to be hired. So I understand that not everybody is outgoing and not everybody is driven or has that innate ambition, but I think more people have it than they know, and they just don't know how to get started. So how you get started is being willing to do the job that no one's willing to do. Working in the butcher shop in the back of your grocery store at 16 years old, working anywhere, anything. I mean, everywhere you go, they have a not now hiring sign, at the entry level positions, because people are unwilling to do that anymore. They're unwilling to do that, but I think they're invaluable to deciding what you want to do. If you don't know what to do, just do something and you'll learn real quick. I don't want to do that ever again. I'll never look at a steak the same after working in the butcher shop or whatever it is. But, I don't want to do that. But I really liked when the customers would come up to the counter and I would give them the cut that they wanted or something like that. You're learning what you like, what gave you energy, and what you definitely didn't want to do.
I think it's perfect because, like, first of all, how many people go get the 4-year degree and then find out that they don't want to work in the field that they got the 4-year degree, or like
All
five,
the time. Mhm.
10 years down the road that it's sucking the life out of them. So I have a neighbor whose actually son chose not to go to college because he knows he doesn't know exactly what he wants to do. And my neighbor is all upset because, like, to him, he thinks college degree, but I would pay for it, and I think your son is doing you the biggest favor. He's actually being very grounded. And I love your advice because many times, unless you're kind of like, it sounds like even you had kind of that idea or kind of that knowing planted within you that you had that direction towards sales, but so many people don't know what they want to be when they grow up, no matter what age are you. So that's perfect advice about the trying, because you can have all these ideas, but you don't know until you actually try it.
Until you do it. And I didn't know. I knew I loved working retail. I loved in high school. I loved, I was selling cell phones, in the 90s boom of cell phones. I was selling them in high school. I was making $400 a line of a cell phone commission, and a family would come in of four. I mean, I was making money in high school. I was making money. And I knew, like, wow, like I can control my paycheck. The more I work, the more money I make. Like, I loved that about sales. I had no idea what it would look like. I never knew I would be in software. I never knew it would look like this. I never knew I would be in financial services. I didn't know any of that. What I knew was what I liked and what I didn't like. And what I loved was talking to people. And I didn't know that would be sales. I didn't know what an account executive was. I thought I was going to be a retail queen forever. But, you know, I, but those were the glory years. I look back and those were the glory years. And those people have went off to be incredible executives from all over the country in top companies.
Mhm.
And we all talk about, gosh, how great was it? Like we didn't even know what we learned back then is applied to our jobs now. I have a hiring manager at Red Hat who literally called me up. She's probably going to see this. She called me up and said, I want more people from Best Buy. Who do you know from Best Buy who want to come over to Red Hat? Because whatever they did to you, we want that.
Mhm.
Because I give all the credit to my retail days. My selling career started on that Best Buy floor, and it's working Black Friday, working the holidays, working weekends, the things that people aren't willing to do, you're willing to do it, and it is a launch pad. So there is no bad job. I think that jobs are like dates. There's no wasted experience, right? You just say, oh, I don't want that. I will not settle for that. It's the same thing, jobs and dates. Go on the date, go on the job, get the experience, learn what you like and what you don't like. Then you can articulate. You can articulate what you want. Red Hat offered me a manager position 2 years ago. I said, "Oh no, I'm not a manager. I want to say customer facing. I know exactly who I am." And that has come from being in that retail floor of them offering me management, going, do I want to do that? Do I want to do spreadsheets and firing and hiring and give up the customer aspect? No, I don't. So by doing that experience, I knew 20 years later, yeah, no, no, thank you. So
And yeah, I mean, there are so many things like I think companies promote people out of their genius zone of genius, all day long, because if you're good at this, then you get promoted to management, but that's a whole different another skill set.
it
Sometimes if
is.
you're a good individual contributor, it doesn't mean you will be a great leader, irrespective of the function, or the trade. But I think you also serve as a shining example of when you're aligned, when you are in the right line of work, you will be successful. And not only will you be successful, you will be in the top. You can go as far as you want to go. So, I really, really appreciate your time, Kelly. I appreciate you sharing your story, your journey, and embodying and living kind of what you're preaching, what you're teaching. And thank you so much.
The pleasure was mine. Everyone likes to talk about themselves. So I appreciate you know, showcasing my story. You don't know that it's a story until someone asks you, and then you go, that's been quite the ride. When I was preparing, I'm like, what am I going to talk about? You know, do people even know that's where I started? You would look at the end goal, you would look at where you ended up, but people don't know what it took, and people don't know the grind and the hustle of how you had to knock down doors. Like nothing came to you. If you want it, you got to go out and get it. And it's a text, it's an email, it's a coffee date, it's a phone call away. Putting yourself out there, it's very valuable.
Yeah, and I think you added a lot of, or provided already a lot of value with ideas and practical ideas that anybody can apply. I mean, the whole reaching out, like even before the interviews, right? Like people have forgotten to send thank you notes after the interviews, let alone, I really love this tip, So I think whether you're in sales or not, you can apply what Kelly shared. Many of the things that you shared, including the human connection. I'm united with you in that mission or that aspect, right? The small sliver of the mission. And I was listening to something today, how we have become a society that values things, right? We value our houses, our cars, right? The conveniences, but we've forgotten, like, it doesn't fulfill our souls. Like we've forgotten to value the relationships, the connections, the friendships, right? We become so many people are more like isolated, right? And they don't want to connect, or they're thinking, how can I push somebody's LinkedIn message off? Or how can I avoid an extra conversation? How can I do more things online without the human connection? So, I love also kind of that you spoke about the importance and how it served you. And I think it serves all of us. And sometimes all of us need to be reminded, that we need to do that. We need to push ourselves out of our comfort zones and that it will ultimately end up serving us both personally and professionally.
I see it in our youth. I see it in my friends' children. I see it at the bus stops when I'm going for my morning walk in my neighborhood, and all the kids are looking down at their phone and they're not talking to each other. I'm like, that was the best time of my day, was at the bus stop, waiting on the bus, with all the neighborhood kids. They don't talk to each other. And the young children don't know how to talk to adults. They don't know how to talk to strangers. That is a skill that is going to be obsolete. That skill of being able to have a conversation. My favorite story is my girl from Argentina, my exchange student, was a very shy girl. She barely talked to us. I would take her into networking events. She would be 17 years old, second English second language. Her English, she was so terrified to speak in English. And I would take her to networking events in town with me. And I'd say, I'm going to walk in the door and I'm going to go left and you're going to go right. And you're going to go and you're going to make conversation with everybody. She now works at PwC in Argentina. She's got a big girl job and she is a light. She is talkative. She speaks very well. And she talks about those networking events at 17 years old, forcing her to go talk in a second language, and meet adults. And what do you find in common? I'm a 17-year-old from a different country. What do you have in common with these people? Go find it.
Mhm.
And she ended up working for a senator in Argentina as an intern all through college, and now has a very important job with Price Waterhouse Cooper. So I'm just so proud of her. But the youth does not have that ability anymore.
Mhm.
We used to always talk to our friends or our yeah, my parents' friends and my friends' parents. But it's a skill set that's fleeting.
Yeah, but I think that's it's through the people, through conversations, through exposing kids, through pushing kids, through being in different organizations, right? Going and speaking in the community. I think also like being, because I've also worked for these large companies where everything becomes very virtual, everything becomes over Zoom. But now I've understood the importance, I think, of making more connections locally and connecting face to face. And maybe it's just, again, you have to get there and everybody has their phase, or when they're open to, being influenced and open to connecting. But I remember that there was a point of time when I learned social graces and more kind of putting myself out there and seeing that when you do stuff, even though it feels uncomfortable, it pays off, and kind of playing with your mindset, right? And overcoming yourself, overcoming the fears. Um, so I think that it will, because like AI can do so much, but it can do right now it can't do this thing. I think it can't replace the human connection. So if anything, we might have an opportunity to focus on that. And that can be, the added value outside of all the technical and the administrative or whatever things that AI can pick up.
Yep, it's never going to replace the human connection. And I think that's been the theme of this whole conversation tonight is
Yes.
it's just you got to lead with that in everything you do, and I mean it literally, it doesn't just change sales. It can change communities, it can change everything, when you lead with the human connection. Oh, I
Hi, my
thought we were
friend.
going to go the whole,
That's a doggy. That's
I thought we were going to go the whole time without his appearance, but
That's awesome. Anybody who's not seeing the video, there's a doggy, a sweet doggy that made an appearance on the video. Kelly, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you and everything you're doing. And I think that that connection is actually that's missing when, partly what's missing when people are missing kind of fulfillment or there's something inside of them that they quite can't pinpoint, or it's definitely one of the aspects. But thank you so much for being here. And I hope you have a lovely rest of the night. And we are recording this. Actually right before Thanksgiving. So I hope you have a wonderful holiday.
I hope you get rest and you get to turn your laptop off. That is that is what Thanksgiving is, right? Like the whole world will just shut down, or at least the country will shut down, and everyone can take that beat that we all need. So thank you for having me, and I look forward to more conversations with you.